Sure you're not. Go for it.
All right. Welcome back, fellow TFFL owners, to your weekly TFFL webcast. This is the first ever week 14 of the regular season TFFL webcast. In this longest ever TFFL regular season, we are looking back at week 13, now looking ahead to week 14, the last week of our regular season, the longest season ever, 14 games. We're going to get to things really quick here. Let me give you some highlights before we get to panel intros. The Boba Fats 7-game winning streak now, four times the highest scoring team in the league. We've been saying there isn't really a clear-cut number one team, but maybe right now this is the top team in the league. As we talked about last week, we had a lot of big games in week 13. K-Wheels beating the AMPAC, hanging on to beat the AMPAC. If I'm correct, the AMPAC came into that game with the tiebreaker over the K-Wheels in a two-way tiebreaker. So in beating the AMPAC, the K-Wheels really came from behind to now take over the number one spot in that division, the number one spot in the conference. We'll get to all that in a moment. Boba Fats beating the Lizards. They've been tied for several weeks here, but this has been, the Lizards in first place all season long. Up until this point, Boba Fats suddenly claiming the top spot in the division. Sponge over the Hormel Hams. The Sponge had relinquished control of that division. The Hams were on top heading into that game. So the Sponge, with that victory, climb into first place in that division. 3 big swings, 3 big games. More to come in week 14. Right now, looking at the other side of the equation, the Mongols occupying the top spot in the TFFL draft next year. If things hold, that would be a first to worst scenario for the Mongols. Big injuries of note. Speaking of the Mongols, Kenyon Drake at running back, I think done for this season, if I'm correct. Doesn't matter much to the Mongols at this point, but it does help the Slippery Beavers. Josh Jacobs now kind of locked into a bigger role there. Jacobs, Najee Harris hopefully can carry the load for the Beavers without McCaffrey. 2 other big injury stories. I almost wouldn't bring up any of the Sponge Fishermen's injuries as an individual one, but when you look at them as a whole, let's pull this up so I can back up what I'm talking about here. In week 13, Eli Mitchell, 10 points, Damian Harris, 12 points, David Montgomery, 14 points, all 3 in double digits. All 3, I think, very questionable now heading into week 14. And again, if one of them were questionable, I might not even mention it, but all 3 of those guys may be out this week for the Sponge. They will have Aaron Jones coming back off a bye, but that's a lot of running back injuries he is suddenly juggling there in a hurry. And go look at the Amsterdam Packers and their receiving core. Adam Thielen out this week. Keenan Allen on the COVID list at the moment. I don't know if he will be out come game time. Corey Davis on IR and done for the year. AMPAC suddenly with some significant wide receiver issues. Those are my headlines. Let's do panel intros. Starting with our commissioner, as always, Lizards King and Ruler. Rich, how are you?
I am doing great. You're going to hear my voice a little raspy tonight. I'm going to try to lubricate it up, drinking a little New England Pale Ale from Treehouse in my Trillium glass. All good. Coming back from a amazing weekend up in Buffalo, New York. Very unique place. And I had a really, really amazing time. And I've really just been recovering since Monday. So I got back Tuesday afternoon, and I'm just starting to get my wherewithals back, about me. But I actually worked before Monday night, and I worked Tuesday when I got back. But in between there, it was all Buffalo Bills time. And I did get to also see my daughter, which was a nice treat. Wasn't the result I hoped for, but every moment was freaking amazing. And it's a trip I will never forget.
a unique game to be at. We will remember that game. Three passes.
That was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane. And again, go through your panel intros. We can come back to it if you want to do a little segment on it. Otherwise, I'm happy to write stuff up in the report. But Buffalo is a lot of fun. As I told you guys before the webcast, the thing that left the most impression on me there was the people. I got offered no less than 4 times to buy me a beer. Like, people offered me to buy me a beer, just meeting me, having a chit chat, talking about where I was from, lifelong Bills fan, first time at the stadium sort of thing. And they were just awesome. They were just great people, good time. The tailgate was amazing. As I told you guys before, the stadium itself in a local market, and it's one that, yes, has been refurbished a little bit, but it's still pretty small. So when you're in there, you feel like you're close to the field, like you're intimate with what's going on. When you're a Gillette, you're sort of set back a bit more. It's like supersizing your meal. And everything at the Bill Stadium, you're blasted into the 80s or 90s again. As I was saying to you guys earlier, it's like all of a sudden you're just seeing people wearing different clothes. It's a different speed. Everyone's super nice, and then the food was like a middle school cafeteria. It's like cardboard pizza. It was like rubbery hot dogs. It was just like there was no glitz and glam to this at all. It was like blue collar, let's get it done, but good times. So there you go.
Man, if you tried to hold a hot dog up to your face, it would get blown away by the time you could eat half of it.
Yeah, you'll see on Discord, I posted one picture of me with the weather going on. We were in it. We were in it in the pregame. It was sideways. People. I was watching people try to really put up their tents. Put up tents to. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I was like, that ain't happening. Right? So it was pretty entertaining, but it was. You felt like I survived. The Buffalo blizzard is what it felt like. And the good news was all the moisture stopped after game time. Really, by game time, it was windy and it was cold, but it wasn't raining anymore, or it wasn't sleeting at us. So pregame was really, really bad. There was a point where it was blowing so hard you couldn't breathe. You were walking and you had to keep your mouth closed. Otherwise, you would it was that windy.
I thought Josh Allen actually did a decent job passing the ball when they did pass it. But there was at least one field goal where I was like, "What the fuck are you doing? Even trying this thing?" And it just.
I officially that made the game for me. Okay, so you talked about. I felt like the Patriots are the Fats and the Lizards are the Bills. Right, it's like mirror 7-win streak, right. I'm stumbling along, a couple of wins, couple of losses, sort of thing, and I got to see a kick go wide right, which just brought back memories of the Super Bowl. Right, I was like, all right, I got a wide right here. It's like this, they're fulfilling every miserable thing that could possibly happen to me. I'm just seeing it live now. So there you go.
All right,
but yeah, hey, I thought Josh Allen did a good job. I thought the whole, they ran all over the Bills was a bit much. When you run 50, 60 times on anyone, you're going to score a lot of yards. And it was 167-yard rush. And then the rest was little nothings. They never scored another touchdown. They pretty much held them the whole time. Although they ran and killed a lot of clock, which, played into it. But the Bills had their chances, man. Had he made that field goal, they wouldn't have been going for 4th and 14. They just would have had to kick another one in probably less wind at that point, actually.
It was insane to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching the Manning broadcast.
What were they saying? I'd love to know.
No, it was funny because they're like, in particular, Peyton was joking around. It's like it's like, it's good there's a couple quarterbacks on here to talk about the passing game, like how do you hand it off, and Peyton is doing the you got to receive the ball like this when you're handing off, and so they were kind of making fun of that, but. Which was funny, and Letterman was on too, which was really good. He was the first.
Oh, nice. That's a good guess.
But
he's a Bills fan, though.
But it was nuts because watching the game, it was just like, okay, now they're going to throw it. Now they're going to throw it. Now they'll pass. Now they'll pass. And then they just didn't. And it was
they're setting them up.
crazy.
They're setting them up. Yeah.
Nope.
And just the right, exactly. All right, now he's going to pull the trigger. Now he's going to do it, and never.
I thought
did
the
it
same
happen.
thing during the game. Yep.
But
Yeah,
just
we're just waiting.
the fact who has the brass balls besides Belichick to do something like that? Like, and I'm sure maybe it was Josh Daniels' idea or whatever, but only Belichick. I don't know if anyone else would think about doing this.
I can think of one guy, John Madden.
Maybe I don't know.
Here's my question: did Mac Jones know, or was Mac Jones doing the same thing the rest of us were? Now it's going to be a pass call. Now it's going to be a pass.
I can't imagine that they didn't have that. Because the weather was shit all day, all weekend, maybe, I don't know, but they had to have had that in place and him, locked into the, hey, this is how it's going to go far early on, right? I would think.
Can you imagine that?
I think they did. I think he knew.
Oh, you called a pass play, right? Right.
That's really funny though.
It was crazy.
It
was fun to watch. But
yeah,
strange.
Strange. Yeah, I thought it was a really fun game to be at. It was definitely unique, and there was plenty of exciting moments, and I got a lot of it on film, and I'll share a few key bits with you guys later.
All right. I got to move us on because we're here to talk TFFL. We have a lot of great stuff to talk about. It's again, we're heading into the playoffs next week. Berto, high command from Jack's Giant Killers. You were at an NFL game this week as well.
Yes.
Why don't you give us 1 minute on that?
Eagles, Jets, we had 15th row up from the end zone. It was great. And I was telling you guys before the game, it was pretty much 50-50 Eagles, Jets fans, I would say. And we did see Crames there as well, who was there with Nate. So nice. Great day, great game. It didn't start off good. Jets had a huge run back off the kickoff, scored quickly, and I was just like, oh my God, 2 games in a row at MetLife, the Eagles are going to lose. But they got it together. Miles Sanders had a great day, which was inspiring, and then he hurt his ankle in the fourth quarter, but that was good to see at least. But the Eagles look pretty good, but again, it is against the Jets, so I don't get too worked up about that. So, but good game and fun. And like I told you guys quickly, I went to Genesis on Friday night. If anyone's a Genesis fan out there, that was fun. So
nice
with the wife.
Did you like the Minshew magic?
Minshew looked pretty damn good. He was compared to Hurts, he's Tom Brady, but he was accurate. The run game set up well for the passing game. Goddard had a big game, but he was on point. He was accurate, so he looked pretty good. But I don't think, again, it's against the Jets. That defense stinks, so we'll see where this goes from here. But Hurts is going to be the starter for the season. I don't think they're not gonna change things around now. They're still in the playoff hunt. So, it was good to see. It was good to see him in there, Minshew, and have a good game. But Hurts will be fine. They'll make a playoff push here. They got the Redskins twice. They've got the Giants, so we got a shot.
Minshew's a professional NFL quarterback. He'd be better than Mason Rudolph. Might argue he's better than somebody like Daniel Jones.
Yeah, Minshew had his moments with Jacksonville, and he's not. As far as backups goes, he's not horrible.
I think there's a fair argument. Maybe he's better than Jalen Hurts, but I think they're committed to that experiment through this year.
Yes.
Hank, our IT director, very patiently waiting. Our number one seed in the TFFL right now, correct?
Right now.
Yes, right now.
Yes. Good evening. Thank you. Welcome. I appreciate it. We're 14 minutes into the broadcast and we're not done with intros yet. But yes, happy Wednesday evening, everyone.
And if, in fact, we have one more intro. I wanted to introduce our new communications associate, William Thornburg, who's helping drive viewership and engagement on the webcast. You may have
We
seen
do have 4 viewers.
Exactly. He's doing a bang up job, really showing some gumption.
Maybe, Stick, you can delegate the archives to Bill too, because I
telling
noticed
The
we're
real
only
time.
updating through 2015 or 16.
Listen, I just got, for the first time ever in my career, I've got off the week between Christmas and New Year's, and it is on my list to tackle it that week. We'll come back to me in the new year and
Get some Stick Van or Vin or whatever, and then bang it out.
Smithers, we need to get Smithers watching this thing.
Yeah.
All right,
That's
so let's.
great. The real-time user feedback is coming in fast and furious, and it's time that we get over this freaking panel intro shit and let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Football.
All right, can I
Whose
ask
feedback was that?
Let's move.
Can I ask you a trivia question?
That'd be great.
Yes.
All right. Let's start things off with I actually invested some time. Speaking of the archives, I invested some time going through the archives, going through the records on the site to do some research for a trivia question this week. A trivia question focused on the playoff scenarios we're going to be talking about here. If you go look at the Southern Conference, it is quite likely we might have a Southern Conference champion with 7 wins. With I think 7-6-1 is a potential winning record in the SoCo this year. How do I want to phrase this question? There's so many points you could possibly get. I want you to tell me, keeping in mind we've only had 13-week seasons up until this point, the worst conference champion record ever. What is the worst record for a conference champion ever? If you can tell me what that record is, that's 1 point. No, that's 2 points. Let's give you 2 points for that. If you can tell me the team that did it.
Okay. All right. Wait, the worst conference champion record.
Yep. The team that did it. That's another 2 points.
Okay.
And I know this is all random guesses, but if you can tell me the year it happened as well, I'll give you another 2 points. And if you get within 1 year of the year, I'll give you 1 point.
So we're looking for the team, the record, and the year.
2 points each, with 1 point available if you get close on the year. How's that? The worst conference champion ever.
Wow. There's nothing there. Okay.
But the point being, the SoCo is. In fact, let's go look at the standings here really quick. The Slippery Beavers could end up 7-7 after all. And is it possible, Phil? I know we're going to get into this. That's a question I would ask. Is it possible the Beavers, if they were to tie the Hormel Hams at 7-7? No, the Sponge are going to be 7-6-1. They would beat them out.
We're gonna get all into this.
Right?
Yeah. So the Beavers cannot win it, but 7-6-1 is a possibility there for the Sponge. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Commissioner. Before we get into everything else, are there any final notes? Obviously, it's the last week for teams to make their free agent signings.
For regular season. Actually, we do. Let me remind you that we do carry free agent priority picks into the playoffs for the playoff teams that have them. And as a reminder, if you use your free agent or priority pick for anyone during the playoffs, they have to return to the pool of free agents after the playoffs are done. Outside of that, it's amazing. I've now finished commissionership of 2 full seasons, but we've added a game. So I get one more and to be the first commissioner to do an extra game of the season, which is exciting. And I don't think there's too much else to report. We're good.
So I'm going to kind of yield the floor here. We're not going to really so much do a standing segment and a schedule segment and a roundtable chat. we're going to chat about the standings and the last game of the season on everything that's on the schedule. As I said, we had some monster games back in week 13 that really changed the playoff picture. We still have a lot of big games ahead that are going to decide who wins conference titles, who wins $500, who wins that bye in the first round, games that decide who makes the playoffs, who wins divisions, who's wild card, who gets those wild card spots. And I believe the number one overall pick is still up for grabs at the bottom of all this. Hank, I think you've really done a wonderful job of outlining all this. I guarantee you that Berto has a good handle on what he needs to do and other teams around him, so he can fact check us as we go. Mm-hmm. Rich is our commissioner. I trust he's got a good handle on this as well. Let's walk through it kind of division by division, team by team.
Okay. So I have spent way too much time looking at this, but I think I do have a pretty good grip on it. So trust me a little bit as I kind of walk through the broad strokes to begin with, and then we can dive in. The South is way easier to look at for now. It's very simple. The SoCo East, the Beavers are the division champions. They are locked in as the number 4 seed. They are the division champs. They cannot do better or worse. They're number 4. SoCo West, the Sponge are division champs and the So-So champs if they win this week.
Right.
Win, they're the champs of the South.
Yep.
The Hams are the division champs and the So-So champs if they win and the Sponge lose. The Sponge are division champs if they both lose. And in any case, if either the Sponge or the Hams is going to be the So-So champion, the number 2 seed. The other one is going to be out of the playoffs, will not be involved in the postseason whatsoever.
Okay.
So that's a big drama we got going in the South there.
Yep.
So, okay. The North is messy. Sorry, do you want to pause for a second? Yeah.
I want to know who those two teams play in.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I had it up and now.
Hang on, I got that.
The Hams are playing the Wheels.
Yeah.
I play the Hams.
Wow.
Yeah. I play the Hams.
Tough game.
Hams play the Wheels. That's going to be a tough one.
Yes.
Right now. Yep. We can get to that at the end, what the games look like.
All right. And
All right.
You want to discuss it right now?
No, I do want to know who do the Sponge play?
Sponge play the Sens.
The Senators.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's
draw that what you will. So the Sponge are in the driver's seat. If they win, they get it all. So the Hams really need to beat the K-Wheels and have the Sponge lose. That's their ticket.
Right.
So that's the South. That's really it. There is no wild card action in the South. In the North, in the NoCo East, or however we split them up, the K-Wheels are the division champions as of the win, and it's basically through the second tiebreaker, which is division record. I'm 3-1, and the best that either Berto or Ralph can do is 2-2. So that's decided. If I win this week over the Hams, I will win the North.
Yep.
All right. So if I lose and the Boba Fats also lose, then I will also be the Northern Conference champion. However, if I am to lose and the Boba Fats win, the Boba Fats will become the Northern Conference champion. Now, as we get to that division, the Boba Fats have already clinched a playoff spot. Their issue is it could range from 1 to 3 to 5 to 6. They do not know where they're seated, but they're in. They'll be division champions if they win their game this week. And the Fats play the Beavers. Yep. All right. So they also are. So if they win and the K-Wheels lose, we said they're going to be the Northern Conference champs. Now, if the Fats lose and the Lizards win, the Lizards will be division champions of the NoCo West. Now, if both of them lose, the Fats will be the champions of that division.
Yep.
So I think that takes care of all the scenarios regarding division winners. All right. So in the North, it comes down to the K-Wheels or the Fats are going to win it. And it's in the K-Wheels' hands to try and be that team. Yes, Rich.
So if the Fats lose and I win, you still have conference champion.
Correct.
I can't get there because you have 9 wins. Got it.
Yeah, I have 10 wins. Yeah, so you can't get it.
Right.
Yeah. So That is, so in that scenario, if the Fats are the only team that can catch me at this point, they have to win, I have to lose, and in that scenario, they would get the North. Okay, so then let's talk wild cards. All right, there are 4 teams that have potential to be a wild card team. So congratulations, these 4 teams are still in the running: the AMPAC, the Killers, the Lizards, and the Fats. Fairly simple. Either the Lizards or the Fats is going to win the division. All right, so that takes care of one of them. One of those 2 teams is going to win the division. All right. If the AMPAC is to, and the Fats have already clinched this playoff spot, as we mentioned before. So if the Lizards become the division champ, the Fats are going to take one of the wild card spots. If the Fats become the division champ, then the Lizards have to hope for some things here. Hang on. Going back to let's look at a couple scenarios. The AMPAC play the Killers this week. This is the cleanest thing. If the AMPAC beat the Killers are out. They cannot win. Right. If the Killers beat the AMPAC, the Killers are in. That's simple.
Yep.
If the Killers beat the AMPAC and the Lizards also lose, then the AMPAC and the Killers both make the playoffs.
Right.
If that makes some sense.
Yep.
If the Lizards win and the Boba Fats win, the Lizards are automatically a wild card team, along with the winner of the Killers Packers game.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
If the Lizards lose and the Killers lose, the Liz are in with the Packers.
Got it.
Okay. So the Lizards have a number of scenarios that they still can get in with a loss.
Winning them in.
What?
Winning
if you
them
win,
in.
you win the division. You're there.
Oh, no,
right?
I only win the division if Fats loses.
And he has to lose,
Right. But I win. You basically said I win, I'm in. If
you win your game, you will be in the playoffs. Win your game.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we deduced that last week. Right.
Right. So that's basically it. We're down to, so there's 4 teams that have a chance to be a wild card, one of whom will automatically be a division winner. The K-Wheels are locked. The Beavers are locked. The Fats are in the playoffs, either as a division champ or a wild card. So those 3 teams are in, some seated somewhere or another.
That was an excellent job.
Really good. Really good. Just one question. If Berto wins or the AMPAC win, they're in. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
If the winner of that game is in.
And the loser of that game has potential if I lose. And
the Killers do not. If the Killers lose, they're done.
They're out.
So the team that is in jeopardy and the biggest potential scandal here is the AMPAC could miss the playoffs with a 9-5 record.
Yes.
Correct.
9-5, and they miss the playoffs.
Because if they lose to the Killers, right? Then the Killers are in the playoffs.
It would be 9-6, right?
Right.
No,
that'd be 9-5.
We'll both be 9-5, but I would have beaten them twice.
My bad.
Exactly. It becomes it's the division record thing. Is that would break the tiebreaker.
Yeah, it's head-to-head record.
Yeah.
For wild card.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's 1-1 and whatever. It's 2. It'd be 2-0.
That's exactly it. So the AMPAC in that scenario, they're just frozen out.
The AMPAC have to win. That's their ticket in. If they don't, then they have to have the Lizards lose.
Right. Yeah, the AMPAC can get in with a loss, with a Lizards loss.
That's the only way. Yes. But if the Lizards win, they're in. They're in. So.
And if the Lizards miss at 8-5-1, that's almost just as much of a tragedy. I mean, that's a darn good record. Lizards
in a great season.
As we've been talking about all year long, the weighted wins between the conferences is so skewed that the records are just way off, and that's why there are no Southern teams even with a chance to be a wild card team.
One of them can win the Pac Bowl. Just takes
absolutely. The Beavers are in. Do you call it 7-7 or whatever their division record is? They're the number 4 seed, and they will be playing, with a advantage come playoff week.
And we just saw it. The Sponge crushed the Hams. The Sponge the Sponge have, I think we all agree, a very strong team. Just crushed the Hams, and yet there is still a chance the Sponge end up missing the playoffs.
For sure.
With what is a packed bowl contending lineup.
Yes.
But
they have to win. You know,
they have to win. Yeah.
Yes, and if they don't, the only way then the Hams they win if I beat the Hams, they're in.
All right, so let's pivot here to looking at some of the big remaining games here and calling out any key points we see. I would flag that as we did this last week. I think I'll take some credit. I, in particular, looked at KC and said, I don't think the Hams are going to get what they need from Patrick Mahomes. And I think I said that translates over to the Ampac K-Wheels game. I don't see enough from Tyreek Hill. And indeed, that's what happened. The Chiefs have been so inconsistent all year long. Let's take a look at some of these key games coming up here in Week 14. And we've already talked a little bit about some of these injury situations really, ravaging again the Amsterdam Packers at receiver, the Sponge at running back.
What game are we going to start with?
Yeah, let's start. Well, let's start. How about with the Ampac Killers?
All right.
Again, this one is division is already settled. This is going to decide a wild card spot.
9-4 versus 8-5.
Yeah,
and we got the Packers slightly favored.
I'm sure the Packers will find a way to make a defensive signing before Sunday.
Well, they also have to deal with. Go ahead. Keenan Allen on IR.
They have one waiver left. They have one waiver left, so they have to pick up a D. That's it. They can't pick up a wide receiver. Then they got
I'm sure they'll find a trading partner.
They can't. We're past the trade deadline.
Okay.
Yeah.
No trades.
They've got one move they can make.
They got to pick up a D. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all they can do.
All right.
So,
by rule, they have to pick up a D.
They have to start a defense.
Yes. And here's the issue with Keenan Allen potentially out. They lost Corey. So here's the thing: Corey Davis, IR. Thielen out. Keenan Allen possibly out. Devontae Parker on bye.
He's got no one
on bye. So guess who is in the lineup?
Josh Gordon.
Josh Gordon.
He doesn't have a choice. Yeah.
And Keenan Allen. He has one.
Right now, he has Keenan Allen in there it says IR. So
Josh Gordon is his only.
Oh, but he's on illness. COVID is the reason.
Right.
So he could
Josh
use a COVID.
Gordon is his only healthy alternative right now. And if Keenan Allen is out, then he does not have a wide receiver to put in there.
Then he gets to use a COVID pick.
He has a COVID pick. That's a lifeline.
That's that is, but that's exactly what it's for, right? I mean, it's COVID. We haven't had a single use of it the entire season.
I like the COVID pick.
That would be the first.
Yeah,
that is right. I totally forgot about that.
Berto, I see people like Dontrell Hilliard and Van Jefferson in your lineup at the moment. What kind of decisions are you looking at?
Van Jefferson was, he saved my ass last week. He is going to play. I mean, it's between him and Brandon Cooks. I think what I have in there right now is going to be the lineup. I almost had a real big issue too, because I picked up my fourth Seattle running back. I cannot quit the Seattle backfield. So that was not a good use of that waiver pick. I should have saved it. Although DJ Dallas was in the lineup, but whatever, not a good pick. Burrow had a little issue with his finger. Hurts is on bye. If something more drastic had happened to Burrow, I wouldn't have had a quarterback. But so I don't have Sanders this week. Chubb is back though. Hilliard had a great week the week before the bye. He had a long touchdown. It's going to be between him and Foreman, who's going to get the carries. Hilliard's more the receiving back, I guess. But
This is
Commissioner, it sounds
Swift
to me like you better think about a ruling on what happens when both teams have an illegal lineup, when Berto has no quarterback with whom to start.
they
and
both get
Ralph has
docked.
no defense.
They both get
and
docked the first round pick.
Well, I
I
don't have
mean,
it, so.
this is a disaster for these two franchises.
So here's the thing: Swift is out. I got a lot of other injuries. I could play Carlos Hyde at running back. I could play. You could put Freiermuth in for Gronk, but I'm not going to do that.
Your backs are
Gronk's had a
fine.
great game. So I have minimal. Options.
This is not a pretty matchup on
No.
either side. On either side,
We are banged up.
There is only one question in this game. Your running backs are fine. They're not the issue. The issue is you do not have a quarterback and don't really have an ability to get one.
No, I have a quarterback. Burrow's playing.
Burrow's playing, but he's
Burrow's
banged up.
playing. My point was, if Burrow had a more significant
Didn't
injury
practice today. Didn't practice today.
No.
Held out.
He's playing. He's playing. They're just managing his reps.
You keep telling yourself that. Don't lose any sleep.
It's a pinky. Listen, he is playing. There's no doubt.
Really well. He'll be top form.
There's no doubt that he's playing.
Hopefully, it just means he's handing the ball off to Mixon a bunch.
That sounds like he will be. They look at everybody in the league is taking a page from Belichick, right?
Mixon was banged up too, so
yeah, no,
Run the
he's
ball.
fine. They said his neck was fine. They already said his neck was not an issue. Right now he has like a stomach bug or something non-COVID related.
It's a goddamn pinky. He's playing. This is the week that
Pinky, isn't that what adds the spin? Isn't the pinky?
Last week, Chase dropped a sure long touchdown. It was in his hands. The perfectly thrown ball in Chase's hands that he dropped. That if that happens, that was like a 60-yard touchdown. Completely changes the dynamic of what Burrow put up last week.
Burrow,
he is going to have a good game this week, and Chase is going to have 2 TDs.
Joe Burrow,
go ahead.
Averaging less than 10 points per game the last 4 games.
Yeah, true. The fact is, hey, I see what Burrow wants to happen. He wants Burrow to Chase to become Montana to Rice, and that connection that those guys are firing. And
they look like it in the beginning of the year.
They play in Cincinnati. It's cold. It's windy. Did you see what happened in Buffalo? I mean, we're in December, dude. You're not going to get September football.
Listen, this game it's in Cincinnati. San Francisco wouldn't have mattered either. But listen, he's going to have a good game.
Sure.
Mark it down. 3 TDs, 2 to Chase.
Berto, you got to be feeling a million times better this week than you were last week. You got a shot.
So here's the thing. I was sitting at the Eagles game and watching the Eagles game, watching my phone up, down. And it didn't look good because I was playing the Sens and Murray and Hopkins were going nuts in the beginning of that. Murray put up 28 points, and it didn't look good. But who came back to rescue me? An all-time great killer, Gronk. 14 points, huge game. And then Van got it done. Sunday night. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's jump around to a few of these other games. I think maybe we should start with let's maybe settle that Southern Conference. We got the Sponge playing the Senators. Any reason to think that the Sponge, again, maybe the reason is they have no running backs. Any reason to think they shouldn't take care of the Senators here, clinch the division, clinch the Southern Conference?
I think that's what they both want. I think the Senators have no desire to win this game. They have a chance at the number 1 overall pick if the Mongols beat the Devils. And that's one thing we did not talk about is it's basically a 3-way race. The Devils the Mongols have the inside track, but they play the Devils this week. Yep. The Devils are 3-10. They cannot get the number 1 pick, but they can give it to the Mongols if they were to beat them. They can be the number 2 pick if they lose to the Mongols. which all is then impacted most of all by the Senators. Senators playing the Sponge because of their tie. If they are to lose and the Mongols win, the Senators get the top pick in the draft, which is, I know, something Kramer would love to see. So is there any reason to think the Senators are going to beat the Sponge? No, there's not.
So here's the thing about this game, right? The Sponge, like I just said, Murray is back. He had a huge game. Hopkins scored. And then the other thing here is they've got Kareem Hunt back this week. He was on bye last week. Kamara is back. He's going to play. Ingram is not going to play, which would have been
stronger than it ever has been.
Yeah, his team does look strong.
And the
Healthy.
And the Saints are playing the Jets, right?
Yep. On paper.
Kamara's going to get his. DJ Moore wasn't in the lineup last week either. He was on bye. Mark Andrews didn't have a good game last week. So this is
he always shows up,
Sens, right? The Sens don't have a lot of red marks, red X's, or red crosses next to their names. They went through a period where they were missing some guys. They had injuries. They had byes. And even last week, and they still were okay last week against the Killers. Now they got these guys back, and the Sponge have a lot of injury issues. Although the Sponge, had a huge game last week with the Packers on bye. It's tough. If Mitchell is potentially going to play, it doesn't look like he's going to play. Montgomery, he's questionable too, but I think he probably will play. But they do get Aaron Jones back, so that's the positive there, right? So, so this is I think going to be a pretty close game.
Maybe.
So if Mitchell can't go, then I would suppose Dalton Schultz gets in the game, or Tyler Higbee.
That's what I was expecting. Schultz probably.
Probably Schultz. I don't know what Montgomery's situation is.
Well, and remember, he's got, I believe, Damian Williams, although he's still banged up.
Well, yeah, he's banged up too. He's got a little red thing next to him. Limited, questionable at Green Bay.
So let's I think this will be closer than perhaps we think. Let's say the Senators pull the upset. In that scenario, the Hams would still need to then go and upset the K-Wheels for the Hams to win. So let's jump over to that game.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I say upset, but at least at the moment, according to the site, the Hams are the favorite.
The Hams are favored. The K-Wheels, let's be candid, have not been firing on all cylinders, and Brady saved us last week with his monster performance. Since Derrick Henry went down, we're not the same team, as we all know. But all of a sudden, I don't know what's happened in Seattle with Russell Wilson and Metcalf and that group. That just seems weird to me, how all of a sudden they just seem to be a totally different team. Thank God for Justin Jefferson, and Antonio Gibson's been solid, and we're still waiting for Kyle Pitts. We'll see. I'm skeptical at this point, but hopeful. One of these days, Barkley and Pitts are going to have to help me, and hopefully it's coming this week. Because the Hams have probably a pissed off Mahomes, and I'm not sure that a pissed off Mahomes is necessarily going to be able to score a bunch of points against, it is against Vegas, in Vegas, right? No, it's in Kansas City.
It's in Kansas City.
Let's hope for weather.
Yeah, the wheels still playing for something here. Is Barkley, is he questionable? He's going to play.
Barkley has the red X next to him every time.
He's playing.
He's play.
He's going to play.
Yeah. So is Metcalf, and it's like all this. I think at this point with those guys, it's like they're not practicing, and it's like they're going to show up for Fridays, run through, and the Saturdays walk through, and they're going to play.
Yeah, it's just what is the week that Mahomes is going to turn it on again?
Or is he?
I mean, I think he is, and it's Vegas. So
Vegas is no layup.
That's a question mark. That's a question mark for the Hams. The other thing is with Aaron Jones back, is that going to cut into Dylan? Swift probably isn't playing, so that's a win for Michael there with Williams. With Jamal
Hokinson
Williams,
has been lighting it up. Hokinson has
Yeah.
really played well over the last couple of games. How about Detroit? Go ahead, Stick.
Yeah. I've got
So,
the stat of the week right here. Patrick Mahomes in his last 6 starts, 2 points, 9 points, 8 points, 42 points, 2 points, 8 points. One explosive week in those last 6 weeks. The others are all under 10. Do you know who he scored the 42 points against?
Las Vegas
Las
week 10.
Vegas. You got it.
Wow.
Yeah, sounds about right. Time for the K Wheels to get the outlier thrown at them.
But that's the
Well, that
question.
won't be an outlier. That'll have happened twice then. It's not an
Still an
outlier.
outlier in a 17 schedule.
Yeah,
It's Patrick Mahomes. Nobody expects him to score less than 42, really. So it's an anomaly the other way that it's been like that, right?
Michael does not have a lot of. That bench is pretty barren right now.
With all the
Waddle
buys,
on bye and Pittman on bye, Gaskin on bye.
You'd have to start if all of a sudden Mike Williams can't start because of COVID with Keenan Allen. If those guys can't start, then all of a sudden he's got to start who was that? Brian Edwards, Terrence Marshall.
Yeah.
Well, Hank, I think you got some hope in Metcalf at Houston. I think that could be a light up game for him.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
I think Tampa and Buffalo could score a lot of points in Tampa, and
Tampa could, but Buffalo's D is tough no matter who you're playing. So I give the edge if he put up 42, and they haven't solved that. I give a little edge to Michael on the quarterback side.
On Mahomes.
The Bills don't give up a ton to passing.
I'll tell you what, though, Vegas has that game at over under at 53.5. So that's a pretty high over under.
Yeah, you got the two hottest kickers in a fantasy draft going up against each other. That's going to decide it.
Okay.
Butker versus Tucker. Butker Tucker.
Well, I like his end of that one better. Kicking in Las Vegas versus in Cleveland. But whatever. I get it's about winning games. I'm going to win games. And if I win, it gives the Sponge the title in the South, regardless of what they do. So, but the Hams really want to win because then that gives them a chance to be in it.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah. So
yeah, they have a chance. That's for sure. This is
absolutely. They're the favorites.
It's gonna be the game of the week.
The favorite.
All right. Well, let's start to wrap up. But speaking of winning, Hank, you're on a 3-game winning streak, I believe. 10 wins on the season, clinched the division title. Obviously, more important games still to come, but you've had a great season thus far. Berto, 8-5 at this point. Nice job getting to this point where you're now, winning in. You control your own destiny. Heading into week 14, and I don't think we probably should have seen that coming a little more last week because of this head-to-head with the AMPAC. If things happened right in week 13, which they did, you were going to be in this position, and you've had a very good season. Well done getting to this point.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it this week, but I will plant the seed. We may revisit Brady and Burrow once again. Nice. Especially again, given that Burrow has struggled these last 4 weeks, but you've gotten yourself again to week 14, controlling your own destiny. We'll see what happens when we meet next week. Rich, you've had a great season as well. Lizards have been in the number 1 spot in our division, really from start to finish. Well, not
almost.
Quite to finish.
We might still finish yet.
And unfortunately, a good team, whether it's the Lizards or the AMPAC, I think are probably the two most likely of our 8-9 win teams that are going to be at risk here.
But the Lizards can still win their division. I mean, the Lizards got to win, right? And if the Lizards win, that's going to put them in the playoffs.
Everything just changed last week. It could change all. The Lizards could overtake the Fats here in week 14.
Mm-hmm.
The Hams could overtake the Sponge
again.
You
got to look at it. I mean,
everybody controls for the most part.
Go ahead. Sorry, Phil.
I was going to say, everybody for the most part, if you win, you're going to get in for the most part. There's a couple of caveats there, but win.
Yeah. That's where we started with this. Yeah. Go win.
What I was going to say was, look, the Fats had an amazing run of a 7-game streak. They started a little weak and then they turned it all around, and rightfully so. Their team, great pickup in Patterson, some really good teams, but they actually have a pretty tough matchup this week against a rising Beavers team that maybe has a guy like Josh Jacobs now owning all the runs, and it's only 48-52% in this game. It's very close. I would call it a second game of the week, really. When you look,
there's a lot of the Packers Hams the Packers Killers is basically an elimination game. Not really. The Packers may get in still, but
a lot of games of the week. So that one. But the Beavers, they want to win. They get to 7-7. That feels a little better than getting in the playoffs at 7-7. Yeah,
that game has less meaning. The Beavers are already in the playoffs. The Fats are already in the playoffs.
Right.
Yes, the Fats could win the division, but that's less interesting. So the Devils Mongols
very meaningful to the Lizards. We hope that the Beavers win. You listen to me, Beavers?
Yes. The Devils Mongols is a fascinating game as well. That is going to largely determine the number 1 overall pick.
Yep.
I love it. And then
here's the other thing too. We've got the Rams, Arizona Monday night, and I think there's multiple teams like Ralph's kicker. I've got Van Jefferson and the Rams defense. The Sponge
versus the Senators.
Kyler Murray is playing Monday night against the Sponge.
Right.
Chiefs got Prater kicking Monday night, and Cooper Kupp. Forgot about Kupp.
Yep, good.
The Lizards. Let's see that game. Anything Sunday or Monday night? Monday night, James Conner. Sony Michel potentially for the Aliens against the Lizards. So there's a lot of stuff happening Monday night. I have a feeling that there's going to be multiple games are going to be decided by what's going to be happening on Monday night, which I feel like this year we've had a couple Monday nights where there's been no juice. Like it's been very minimal impact, right? This Monday night is not going to be one of those. This one is going to be extremely impactful with a lot on the line here.
Hey, if the Boba Fats are one of our 2 live viewers right now, I'm curious if we can tie the 7-game Fats winning streak to Rob's appearance on the webcast.
Ooh, interesting. When can we get a check? We'll check what week that was.
I'm hoping Rob or maybe Phil is our webcast archivist can look into that.
I think he had already won a couple of games before he appeared.
Maybe.
I don't think that was the turning point. I think
he was on week 11.
I think he's paying Belichick to pick his fantasy roster every week.
He was on week 11.
Oh, I thought he was on much earlier in the season. Has he been on twice, maybe?
Yeah, he was also on week 6. Actually, week 6 and week 11.
Week 6 seems to tie in.
That would be the turning point.
All right.
Another case. Yeah. I think the Hams had something like that once where they closed the season on a big winning streak after being on the webcast.
Let's be candid. Look at the value of coming on the TFFL webcast.
What else would you want to do with your Wednesday night? Come on.
Right.
I don't know.
All right. So we're going to wrap up in just under an hour for the first
I haven't
time
even made my picks. Hang on.
But I have a trivia answer for you.
I don't have an
try
answer.
to repeat it
I haven't
slowly.
filled out an answer. Hang on.
I'm going to
Fill out an answer. None of us are going to be right.
I pulled one little thing that I remember saying a while ago, but a little wild ass guess.
I'd like to think maybe somebody gets the record right.
6-6-1.
All right. So the correct answer is 7, 5, and 1. So
Yes.
two points to Hank.
Yes.
It was the Hormel Hams that did that. Nobody had the Hams, correct? In 2012.
No.
Nope.
So two
I
points
got
to Hank.
nothing, and nothing.
I got
Like I said,
2 points.
It was wild ass
Nice
guess.
job, Phil.
See, Berto, you and I would think the
Berto
same
and I
way
were on the
with
same
tie in
page.
there.
Yeah.
I was just thinking that a tie is going to skew it in some way.
Yeah,
Well
you
done.
gave it one little extra thought that Berto and I didn't. Well done.
Yeah.
That was
But
the
I
difference.
had the tie in there too. I had 6, 6, and
I
1.
know.
But
That's what
thought-
I had. But I'm
See,
saying he gave it the extra thought that we didn't, Berto, and went to don't go
if it was
6,
just-
6, 7,
Why
5.
Yeah,
5.
if it was dead even, I feel like it would have been a bigger deal that a team won the conference with a losing record or a non-winning record.
That's why I went with it, because he made it sound like so unique that I thought maybe
Right.
that was it.
Well,
No,
that
but
is
I
still
also
pretty
re-
unique.
I thought I
Good
remember
question.
Six saying
Yep.
it must have been a division winner at 6, 6, and 1. That probably was what it was. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. There are divisions where, I think we've had losing records on rare occasions, 6, 6, and 1 on occasion. But only one time in our history has a team with only 7 wins won the conference.
Yeah,
This could be number 2.
And it would be interesting in a 14-week season for it to happen.
But you're right, Rich. That was the little extra thought. We all had the tie in there. Phil
Yep.
had the, yeah.
The non-balance. Yeah, just that it wasn't going to be a non-winning record at this point. Interesting. Good question.
All right. So, hey, great time of year. I'm excited. Both of you guys down below here, Berto and Bork, went to games this past weekend. I know Hank went to one earlier, not that long ago. We got the holidays. Rich, Hanukkah is now over.
Correct. It was I celebrated the last night with my daughter up in Rochester before I drove to the game.
Very nice. Very nice. We'll be back here next week on the 15th, getting closer to Christmas. Next week, we'll be talking about first round of the TFFL playoffs. Good luck to everybody this week in your big games. Still a lot of big games remaining. See everybody one way or another online on Monday night. I'm sure we'll all be watching that big game that'll probably shift a few things in our playoff picture. And then we'll be back here on Wednesday next week talking about it all. In the meantime, take care. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Good luck all.
Good luck all. All right.